Our next speaker tonight, and again, we're going to keep these presentations short so that you'll have a chance to interact with the panel. So Jen Krieger, as you heard earlier, was the czarina, incorrectly identified as the czar, the czarina of local energy at the county level. She works, as many of us got involved with her, I think, through this CCA project, and I know her portfolio is broader than that. We asked her to come tonight because we think that this particular meeting we're having tonight, which is about resilience in the electrical world, and then how do we keep this thing. I'll tell you quickly, some of you may know Chuck Zagar, who lives in Montecito. He's a friend of mine, a fellow of the Academy, and he stayed at his home. The mud didn't hit him, it went around him. And I said, Chuck, are you okay? I called him on his cell phone. He said, yeah, I got a lot of junk food, I got a lot of bottled water, and I got enough pool water, I can flush my toilets, everything but electricity. And I said, well, how are you talking to me on your cell phone? He said, oh, I charge it off my car battery. Now, what's funny about that story is Chuck was in the process of putting in a completely resilient photovoltaic system for his house. Didn't get it all done, so he was caught without. What we are hoping we will get the cooperation from the county to do is to think outside the box and to help us create something that's basically local and resilient. And we're hoping that Jen can help us do that at the county level. So Jen, and you've got her bio again in front of you. Thank you so much.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm recovering from a sinus infection, so apologies for the raspy voice. I'm also going to sit. I don't have a ton of energy right now, so bear with me. If you can't see or need clarification, feel free to raise a hand and I can go up to the podium if that's better. So first of all, thank you so much to everybody for being here this evening, and to the World Business Academy for putting on a really phenomenal event, an opportunity for all of us to come out and have real conversations about the community that we want to have going forward. I know that many are eager to start the rebuilding process and to do so smartly and with energy resiliency and the environment in mind. Fortunately, it's not common that communities have an opportunity to think from a more open slate and to design strategically and intelligently with kind of future implications in mind. So, I would just echo that rebuilding wisely is certainly critical, as unfortunately we are likely to continue to see more natural disasters like the fire and the debris flow that we've just experienced. I am part of a 7-person sustainability division. I have my colleagues Ashley Watkins and Marissa Hansen-Lopez here with me this evening. And a lot of the work that we do centers around trying to reduce the carbon dioxide and the other greenhouse gas pollutants that contribute to climate change. That while we can't tie any one specific natural disaster, such as we just had, to climate change, it certainly is a contributing factor to the more holistic changes that we're seeing in our local weather and global climatic patterns. So a lot of what we're focused on is trying to reduce the urgency with which climate change is coming. And as a county, we're also starting to prepare for the ramifications of the fact that climate change is not just coming, but it's here, as we've all witnessed. So now is a great time to be having this conversation about what we can do to not just rebuild our community, but specifically focusing in this evening and leading up to Craig's presentation about how we can rebuild our electric infrastructure to better withstand the next emergency event. I'm not resentful of that, I promise. And to minimize our contribution of climate pollutants that contribute to climate change. So I do have a couple of existing county projects that are underway that I think tie into the concept of building a community scale microgrid here in the Montecito area or other places potentially throughout the county. But before I do so, I wanted to share a little bit about our sustainability division, kind of who we are, what we're doing, and why we do it, to give you a little bit of context. So as I mentioned, we're a team of 7 sustainability experts. We collaborate across all different county departments, as well as with our partner local government agencies and other nonprofits and community partners throughout the county and across our tri-county region with San Luis Obispo and Ventura counties as well. And our focus is really to provide resources that empower and connect people to enhance the environment and our quality of life. So in line with what this talk is all about this evening, we hope to inspire and to really facilitate individuals and organizations taking collective action to create a healthier and more environmentally vibrant local and regional community. Our work currently falls into 3 main categories: energy efficiency, clean energy, and climate action. So energy efficiency is where we got started. We have a residential energy efficiency program called Empower Central Coast. There might be some opportunities there in the wake of the recent fire and debris flow to potentially partner with our electric utilities that serve the area, Southern California Edison here in South County and Pacific Gas and Electric Company in the northern parts of the county. What we do is we essentially provide wraparound services to single-family homeowners to upgrade the energy efficiency of their homes through, for example, adding weatherization or sealing around gaps and cracks around windows and doors, adding more efficient appliances, and things of that nature. And I know that our peers up in Sonoma County that unfortunately faced a similar disaster in their community not long before us, they were able to work with PG&E that serves their region to bump up the rebates and incentives that they offer to individuals to, when they are doing their repairs and they are rebuilding, that they're installing more efficient appliances and equipment. So that's something that we're potentially interested in pursuing as well. We're also trying to grow beyond just energy efficiency for single-family homeowners, but also to enter into the businesses and nonprofits and others that are interested in making their organizations and their properties more energy efficient. And we're partnering, as I mentioned earlier, with Ventura and San Luis Obispo counties to try to create a new type of energy efficiency organization called a regional energy network that would allow us to do more with other funding sources independent of the utilities. In the clean energy space, as was mentioned, we have been investigating the prospects of a community choice aggregation, our community choice energy program here for our region that would provide more local control over where we get our electricity supply, potentially from more local clean energy sources, and have some more say in how much those electricity sources cost us. Initiative that kind of spun out of the community choice energy effort is that we are now, the county is partnering with 3 of our cities here on the South Coast, Carpinteria, Goleta, and Santa Barbara, to look at potentially laying the foundation for a broader clean energy roadmap for the county and the South Coast as a whole. So that potentially could tie into this evening's discussion, as microgrids are one way to facilitate the development of more clean energy resources like solar and battery storage and things of that nature. And then lastly, we are the division within the county organization that's responsible for helping to implement our climate action plan. So I'll go into that in a bit more detail in just a moment. But I just want to stress that the type of microgrid project that Craig will be talking about momentarily is really the perfect example of the type of collaborative multi-partner projects that our division is well suited for and is hoping to spark an interest in and momentum behind in the community. That said, any of the concepts or ideas talked about tonight, I cannot speak on behalf of the county. These ideas would need to be vetted through our policymakers, through the Board of Supervisors. So if you have an interest in getting involved, I'm happy to talk more about it, and maybe there's something that we can bring together. So I guess I'll transition into how a microgrid concept really ties nicely into 2 of those initiatives that I mentioned already, our Energy and Climate Action Plan and the strategic energy planning work that we're starting to do. So starting with the Energy and Climate Action Plan, it's essentially a comprehensive guide for how the county and the community as a whole are going to drive down our greenhouse gas emissions, trying to get those to a 15% reduction by 2020. So that Energy and Climate Action Plan was adopted by our Board of Supervisors in 2015. At the time, it was in line with where the state was trying to head at the state level. Since then, the state legislature has adopted more aggressive greenhouse gas reduction targets, so we'll be needing to update our climate action plan in line with those deeper savings over time. But for now, we're focused on the 2020 goal of reducing those emissions by 15%. What the Energy and Climate Action Plan does, it identifies the specific actions that the county as a government organization and all of us as members of the community can take to be responsible for the things that we do, driving, turning on the lights, turning on the faucets, sending trash to the landfill, that create those greenhouse gases that contribute to climate change, which exacerbate our natural disasters here. I will highlight that it is a mitigation plan, meaning it's trying to identify the things that we can do now to try to slow the encroachment of climate change on our community. It is not an adaptation or a resiliency plan. That said, the county as a whole, we're starting to identify kind of areas of vulnerability within our infrastructure and within the services that we offer that are already being impacted, like we have seen front and center over the past few months, by the effects of climate change. So, for example, our planning department, they have been working collaboratively across the South Coast region to develop a coastal resiliency plan to prepare for the impacts of rising sea levels. And then the county also recently partnered with our regional transportation planning body, which is the Santa Barbara County Association of Governments, on a grant from the state to do a really deep dive to look at the vulnerabilities of our transportation system, again, as we all witnessed with the shutdown of the 101 and the ongoing rebuilding of all the bridges over the 192. So we're really going to take a hard look at where those critical spots are and then hopefully address those over time as policy and funding sources are identified. I will say that related to the Climate Action Plan now, the vast majority, 75% of all of our carbon emissions in the county of Santa Barbara come from both transportation and building energy use. Those two sectors of the economy are ripe for improvements with microgrids. So you can integrate electric vehicle charging infrastructure so that we can try to drive down the emissions from our vehicle driving. We can try to install more clean renewable energy resources that are facilitated by this connected microgrid. So while microgrids aren't directly called out as an emissions reduction strategy in our Energy and Climate Action Plan, they certainly do help with future grid resiliency and support some of the measures about increasing the amount of renewable energy generated locally and maximizing opportunities for energy efficiency improvements. And then the second thing I wanted to mention was just the strategic energy planning initiative that we've recently undertaken. So we're in the process of hiring a consultant right now to help us with two things. One is that Southern California Edison is well aware of the fact that we have some grid issues here on the South Coast and that we are very vulnerable to emergency events. So they, within the next couple of weeks, probably the next week, will be issuing a request for proposals for project developers that are interested in offering up what is called distributed energy resources. So anything that doesn't necessarily have to be connected to the larger electrical grid and can help build a little bit of a buffer in emergency events for us. So the county, along with Carpinteria, Goleta, and Santa Barbara, we're pursuing the possibility of bringing on a consultant to help us identify projects that we could do both with our public facilities and to facilitate development of those projects in the private sector to participate in Edison's RFP. We're also hoping to build out a more robust clean energy roadmap, again, that could incorporate microgrids for the county as a whole. So those are the kind of primary initiatives that the county is working on that I wanted to bring to your attention and really just highlight the fact that, you know, as traumatic and difficult as recent events have been, this is kind of a blessing in the sense that this is an opportunity to think strategically and to think smartly about the community that we want to build and to facilitate into the future. Thank you.
So these little brochures that some of you have seen, the SBR3, that stands for, again, Santa Barbara Renewable, Resilient, Reliable. And just to let you know, SBR3 program in 2017 was successful in consulting on over $1 million of individual solarizing projects here in town, and over, I think, $600,000 actually got built out within less than 9 months. So it's a service that the Academy as a nonprofit provides to help, and at no cost to the individual homeowner or building owner. It's a service we provide to try and help them get what they're looking for, which is this resilient target.